What is up, watch friends? Welcome to Friday. It's Friday. We made it. Finally. Talking timepieces with Tony. I'm Tony. I hope you guys had a great week, and I hope you're ready for the weekend. So today we are going to do our Q&A like we always do. So for those of you who are new subscribers or just don't know, every Friday we do a Q&A. So if you'd like to have your question featured on my channel, all you got to do is ask your question in the comments below, and it'll be featured on upcoming Talking Timepieces with Tony Q&A. It was a crazy week. 2 days ago in the morning, my back popped. For those of you who know, I've got a really seriously bad back problem, fractured disc and everything. And I just thought, oh my God, this is going to get bad. And lucky enough, touch wood, it's been okay. It's just, so I apologize if I'm not high energy, but I always appreciate you guys. So on with the show is what they say. The show must go on. So again, if you want to have your question answered, just go ahead and leave it in the comments below, and we'll get it on one of the next episodes. All right. So the first question comes from Guido Reuter 2198. Great watch. Congrats. What dealer did you use to make your trade, if you don't mind sharing? Well, how about this? I'm wearing a Rolex sub, my 14060. Let's roll the intro and then we'll talk about it. All right. See, it's all about the back. I'm just focused on I like not running the intro and things like that. But anyway, let's go back to that question. Great watch. Congrats. What dealer did you use to make the trade, if you don't mind sharing? Okay, that was the trade for the 14060M Submariner and my Vacheron Constantin Patrimony. That was a tough one. It was so funny because that Patrimony had been sitting around, definitely needed a service, man. It was just not running correctly, and it was winding was very difficult on it, and it's gonna be $1,000 to service the Vacheron at Vacheron Constantin, and I've always wanted. I love older subs, especially the 14060. I'm sorry, the 14060M. And I'm going to do a review on this watch, and I haven't done it yet. So, I mean, I don't really want to talk. People ask me, where do I sell watches? Where do I buy watches? I buy my watches for my AD for the most part. I don't like buying pre-owned watches for the most part as well, unless it's a discontinued model that I can't get. Just happen to like buying new watches. I want to be the first one to start, whatever that is. But I've sold plenty of watches, just because I don't bond with them or they just don't work for me. And I don't like telling people where I do it because I don't really like who I work with a lot of the times, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Each person or company that I contact or whatever will literally give you prices are so different. Like one company can give you a great price on this one watch, but then the next watch they don't. But then this company gives you a great price on watch and a shitty price. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's like rolling the dice. You know what I mean? And then and I wouldn't recommend any of those gray market YouTubers though. I mean, I have contacted one once, and that total kind of just pricks, man. Don't get back to you, or they do, you know what I mean? It's just, anyway. So, but in this case, I used a company called Precision Watches. They are an authorized AD of Rolex and other brands, but they sell pre-owned. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend them either, because it was a long process to get this watch. I waited about a month. And then on top of it, their prices are pretty high. So at your own discretion, use whatever you want to use. I appreciate your question. Sorry for making it so long. The answer, I'm sorry. This next one comes from Raymond Marchena -QF. Tony, love the channel. First question, what are your thoughts on Bell and Ross watches? Was recently in France and picked up a Tudor 41 with the red bezel, and also a Bell and Ross BR3 with the copper dial. Well, congratulations for especially purchasing something like that when you're on vacation or whatever. It's always fun to bring something nice back when you're away, and it gives you something to remember your vacation by or where you were at the time. Um, the Tudor, I would take the Tudor over the Bell and Ross. I don't know about Bell and Ross. I just, you know, I've not even bothered trying any on at my AD. I look at them and they just don't appeal to me. I mean, there's something aesthetically about them that's pretty cool. They're a pilot watch. I like pilot watches, but overall, I've just never considered it. They've never really been on my radar as far as something I even might consider purchasing. It doesn't mean something down the road won't tell me to, go, hey, you need to get a Bell and Ross. But that's just my opinion. If you like it, that's all that matters. I always say that is, as long as you care, you like it. That's all that really matters. But I appreciate your question, man. Congrats on your watches and enjoy them. Austin Cragen 7391. Hey Tony, would you ever buy an Explorer 36 millimeter? I have the same wrists as you. You do? The same? Okay. I know what you mean. The new 36 millimeter does feel smaller with a thin bracelet, but it's almost the perfect little classic watch that can go with anything. Just lacks that heft substance, which could be a good change from the usual, perhaps. Also, flip-flop clasp is a big bonus. I wouldn't buy a 36 millimeter Explorer. I wouldn't buy a 39 millimeter Explorer. I think if I went way back and never had a Rolex before, keep in mind I've had just about every Rolex that you can have, or at least all the Rolex I've ever wanted, I've gotten. And then some that I was not really that interested in, I became interested in and then got those. It's nothing against the 36 millimeter, the Explorer. To me, it's just really an OP, but it has, some indices on it, or some numerals, on it. But if I hadn't ever had any of the Rolexes that I've had, I would have considered it. So, I bought a Datejust in 2008. I'm going back so far, but like, just let's say that in the pandemic, you couldn't get anything, right? But if my AD would have said, "Hey, man, I can give you an Explorer," at that particular time, I might have bought it, and then just learned to love it, bond with it. You know what I mean? But because I've gotten everything else that I've wanted, and never asked for it, it's, I mean, I would go with a sub. That's more my thing. You know what I mean? The Explorer is, it's a great tool watch. And it's like what a field watch is, what you would call it. Is that what you would call it? But great watch, man. Just not my thing. But I don't have anything against it. And if I had to, if it was the only Rolex available to me, I probably would have taken it, and I would have learned to love it. Thanks for your question, man. Adrian Olimperator 9458. I'm sorry, man. I just can't get your name. Hey, Tony, thanks for answering my question. The name's not easy to pronounce. Whoa, you read my mind. However, my question was misunderstood. Oh, yeah. You asked me a question, I think, last week, and it was interpreted slightly different than what you were asking, right? So your question was, what would I add to your current collection? Not what would I add if I had your collection, so to speak. The question was, why would you... Oh my God. The question was, what would you add to my current collection that currently consists of a 116500 Panda. Cool, dude. A Batgirl. Nice. Cartier Louis 18 karat Rose, and a Casio. All right, man. So you've got 2 sport watches, 2 Rolex, and you've got a dress watch. You've got a Cartier Louis 18, a little tiny one, but it's still a very cool watch. And then, of course, the Casio. It never hurts to add a sub to your collection. What about a 124060? Hear me out. You've got 2 Rolex already. Oh, you know what? You've got your Daytona, and then you've got your Batgirl with the Cyclops on it for the date. So I would suggest getting the sub 124060 because it doesn't have a date. It's a no date, super clean. I mean, it's just a sick watch. I would get something like that maybe. And I know it's so close to what you already have, but it's a sub. You know, you could go with an Omega. I wouldn't say Speedmaster, but if you like the Speedmaster, go for it. But an S&P 300 would be cool. And then what about a Zenith Pilot, man? Have you thought about Zenith? It's not everybody's thing, but Zenith Pilot, it's a great everyday sort of beater watch, super legible, awesome. Yeah, that's what I would pick, man. Thanks for your question, dude. David Parrish Productions, sweet watches, Tony. Thanks, Dave. How are you, man? What are your favorite moderate priced watch brands? Tissot, Bulova, nice watches around $500. Thanks, amigo. 500 around the $500 mark. All right. You have Tissot. I know that you do. And I guess I know you. I think you have Bulova as well. I think if you go on Amazon, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure you can get like a Raymond Weil dress watch. It'd be quartz, but around maybe $200 or $300. And Raymond Weil make great watches, man. They are so under everybody's radar. It's crazy. And what they came out with this year at Watches and Wonders is pretty sick. Higher price points in the $2,000 to $5,000 range, I believe. But Raymond Weil, I would go with. You can never go wrong with the Tissot PRX. Those are just really cool watches, man. Really good watches. So, any of you guys out there that have any suggestions, if you're looking, David, for a watch in that price point, maybe some of my viewers can, give you some suggestions as well. And I always appreciate your question. Thanks, man. Next one comes from Gino816. Your channel is growing. I'm happy for you, but sad for us originals who get our questions answered, period. I don't understand what you're saying there, man. You're glad that my channel is growing, but you're sad for the original people that get their questions answered. Do you not want me to answer your questions? That's how I'm perceiving that. I don't know if that's what you actually meant. Anyway, your question was, what do you think of Watches of Switzerland Hodinkee purchase? Also, how do you feel about the new Speedy? As far as Watches of Switzerland purchasing Hodinkee, I don't really care. I don't, as far as I'm concerned, Hodinkee, right? They were in the business of selling watches, which I don't think they really should have done that in the first place. Plus, they bought Crown and Caliber, which they're no longer associated with Crown and Caliber. In fact, European Watch Company has now bought Crown and Caliber, so I hope they become successful doing what they're doing. But as far as Watches of Switzerland taking over Hodinkee, it doesn't mean anything to me because I don't watch anything related to Hodinkee at all either. So that's just me. As far as the new Speedy, is it the FOIS Speedmaster, the original one that went to the moon? I think it's nice. I mean, I love sort of the vintage aesthetic of it. I love the way that it sort of looks patinaed with the lume. I like the dial color of it's not quite black, is it? It's almost like is it kind of gray, very dark, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it's nice, and I still think though, if I was gonna buy a Speedmat, oh my gosh, if I was gonna buy a Speedy, I would buy the white dial. I'm pretty sure I would, but I would have to try them both on just to make sure. But I think it's nice, and I leave that to the Omega experts. They're meta tested and all that stuff. Apparently it's got a really good movement in it, and I think it's pretty cool. I think just for me, the chronographs as a manual wind movement plus the size. The size I think on it, isn't it smaller? Isn't it 38 or 39 millimeters, 38 and a half, 39? I'm not sure. I might be getting confused because the one thing I didn't like about the Speedy, being at 42 millimeters, I believe, it still was a little bit too big. But nothing wrong with it. And if I have the chance to try one on and wear it, I will. Thanks for your question. This is Nam underscore Anor VS Jedi. Tony, what do you think of the new Omega Speedmaster FOIS? I think I just answered that one. And sorry, I could have put yours first and you would have got the first answer, but there you go. This comes from Web Bezzy. How do you sell your watches? And would you trade in an Explorer 2 to get a GMT Master 2, considering they have the same movements? Yeah, I just spoke about how watches buying, selling. Would I trade an Explorer 2 to get in? Yeah, I would totally trade it. I don't care that they have the same movement. I mean, the OP has the same movement as a Submariner, you know what I mean? A no-date sub anyway. That's completely has no bearing on me as far as with Rolex and their movements in whatever watches. I mean, and don't misconstrue that for me saying I don't give a shit about Rolex movements, because I do, but I consider all of the Rolex movements extremely high quality. They all run within +2, -2. They're chronometer, superlative chronometers. So yeah, I would definitely trade in the Explorer 2 to get a GMT Master 2. So if that's what you're thinking about doing it, I wish you the best of luck on that, man. Next question, final question. This is from JJJFFFPPP. Hey, dude. I know you said you've sold watches to Federico, Talks Watches, but would you ever buy a watch from him? I don't know. I don't know if I would. I mean, I still get emails from, that company that he owns and operates. Some of his prices are decent, but the fact is he buys as low as possible, and sells as he wants to get the biggest profit margin. So what he'll do is, this is what I don't appreciate, is that sort of shady, telling you stories of that your watch isn't worth this much because of this, and this, and this, and therefore it's only going to be worth this much. And then buying your watch for, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. This, say buying a watch for $1,000 and then telling you that it's only worth $1,500, but then selling it for $4,500 or $5,000 on his site. You know what I mean? That's the shit I don't like about him. I think he's just gotten too big for his britches. He used to be a real humble guy, and he's a nice guy. I mean, before I even sold him watches, I used to talk to him on the phone and whatever, and we'd have great conversations, but he's just let it go to his head. Unfortunately, he seems to think he's the end all and the most, I don't know. I don't want to talk smack, but it doesn't, if there was a watch that appealed to me on his website and it was at the price I wanted it and couldn't get it anywhere else, then yes, I would buy it. So there you have it. And I appreciate everyone who likes and subscribes, and we'll see you on the next one.